everyone, back at it again with another ice video. Got some really good ice conditions. It's pretty late in the season. We're into March now, and some of this ice had softened up a little bit, at least the first inch or two, but the past couple nights have been in single-digit lows, and all that stuff is frozen solid right now, so it's easy travel on ice. In terms of travel conditions, these are pretty much ideal. But in terms of fishing conditions, we've got bright blue skies, hardly any clouds, high pressure. You know, these are typically tough conditions. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of show you how I adjust to tougher conditions. I've only got about an hour to fish this afternoon, and I'm trying to make the most of the remaining days on the ice. So let's get into it. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is drill a bunch of holes with my Milwaukee drill. Just flies through the ice. We've got about 18 inches of ice still. Pretty solid stuff. Alright, I thought about going through some hard baits, but I decided against it. And the reason is I don't really want any commotion because of the conditions. I want to keep it subtle. I want to keep it quiet. So absolutely no rattles. Not too much vibration, and the reason is I've seen fish on camera during these conditions, and they actually can turn away from lures. You know, they'll actually go in the opposite direction, whereas during good conditions they'll come to you. I'm tightening up my drag here. I'm fishing straight mono because of the conditions. It's around 30 degrees like I said, so if I was going to fish with straight braid or braid to leader, it would be icing up pretty fast. Another thing I'm doing differently because of the conditions is I'm going to areas that I've found fish before, and I have a waypoint on my phone. I'm going to drill, 4 or 5 holes around that waypoint, and the reason for that is that in tough conditions the fish will not come to you. You have to go to them. So even if it's a small difference, maybe 10 yards, I want to drill that extra hole in case those fish aren't willing to come to me. Another thing I'm going to do is if I don't catch any fish at my first spot, and I give it a couple minutes each hole, I'm going to move. I'm going to move to another waypoint where I've done well in the past. So in good conditions, you can kind of stay in a spot you've done well at before and just hope the fish come through. In these kind of conditions, I do not want to do that. I want to move until I find fish, and you pretty much have to land on top of them. And these fish are going to be moving around a little bit, but not as much as during prime conditions, with clouds, maybe a front coming in, dropping barometric pressure. So you really have to go to them. And then once you find them, you want to try really hard not to spook them, not to make a lot of noise on the ice, no rattle baits, all that stuff. So I gave the 4 or 5 holes I drilled right here a little bit of time, and it didn't pan out, so I'm going to go to my second spot. Alright, I'm at my second spot. I'm going to drill 4 or 5 holes around that other waypoint, and then I'm going to start fishing. I got my homemade fish finder, ice fish finder, with a blue Dave Gens box there. I'm fishing with a 1/5 ounce black ice Swedish pimple. That black ice color seems to be pretty good under difficult conditions. I wouldn't think a black spoon, it's not really black, it's more like black nickel, but I wouldn't think a black spoon would do well under the ice. I mean, it's pretty dark down there, but they can find it, and that's not a bad perch. They're down there in the mud on these deep mud flats, and they're eating bloodworms and grubs. Sometimes they even spit up little baby clams. So anyway, they're down in the mud and they're eating worms and other invertebrates that live down there. And so I'm kind of mimicking that. But the main thing is that I want something that's quiet, so no rattles. I'm in 26 feet of water, so I want something that falls relatively fast. Because if you don't get down to these fish quickly, they'll tend to slide off. They'll tend to move away from you. And in really good conditions, the activity could bring in more fish. You just have an endless cycle of you catching fish and more fish coming in and you catching more of them and da-da-da-da-da. With tough conditions, it's not like that. You got to work a little bit harder. got to drill a few more holes. You want to have some spots already in mind to go out and find some fish. And the first spot was completely dead. And it wasn't until I got to the second spot that I found a hole that had a whole bunch of, decent sized yellow perch. And that's what I was after today. That's a little smaller one, but that's okay. We'll take anything on this trip. It seemed like some of the longer, skinnier males were grouped up with the bigger, fatter females that are stuffed with eggs right now. And I'm fishing a spawning bay. I'm fishing there on purpose because usually late ice, March time frame, these fish will push into the spawning bays and you can find large groups of them all mixed together. There's another skinny male. There's lots of ways to catch them, but in general I want something, silent. For deeper water I want something that falls fast. If I was fishing shallow water, I could fish with like a 1/10 ounce Swedish pimple. Like 3-inch plastics work pretty well too because they're silent. They don't give off a lot of negative vibes. Basically just something a little bit more subtle on difficult condition days. Bright sun, high pressure, no clouds, that kind of stuff. Another skinny male. Got a little droplet on the camera too. Alright, that's it. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Just like all my other videos, I'll list all the gear in the video description so you can duplicate what I was doing out here on somewhat difficult conditions. Make a few adjustments and you can still have a pretty good day. It's almost like a completely different strategy when it's bright blue skies out. I completely change up my game. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!